Also, our council meetings now across the country are opened up with Islamic prayer, not Christian prayer. This is coming to the United States.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. First of all, thank you to the Chamber, to all members. This is the Islamic Court prayer.
I think they're trolling us, don't you? I think they're trolling us. Most of this, really? This is happening. It's happening in America.
Oh my gosh.
It's happening in New York. It's happening in Mandalay.
Make him stop.
To give you another example of Islamic supremacy in Sharia, you have the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is all the world's countries coming together to sign the Declaration of Human Rights in 1990. Let's all agree we must protect human rights. Do you know what the Islamic countries done? They separated themselves from the rest of the world, 45 of them. And they created the Cairo Declaration. So they said, yeah, we'll sign up to human rights so long as all rights and freedoms are subject to Sharia and Islamic law. So don't be fooled by the nonsense of Islamic nations signing up to human rights, yeah? Because as long as they fall in line with Sharia law, there are no human rights in Sharia law, okay?
This is why the UN is a joke, and this is why international law is only used against like Western countries, because they've just given up with the Middle East. This is why human rights just basically don't exist in Islamic countries, and they just get away with the constant corruption and the terrorism. And the United Nations, all they ever do is like they either like point to Israel or point to America or point at like Western countries, because they're kind of subscribing to the model, and they're just kind of just given up on the Islamic countries, and now they've just kind of taken over the UN. Okay, that's how it all works.
Everything has to be governed by Sharia law. Now, conquering the world. Going forward, I will reference the sacred texts I've mentioned, videos from Islamic leaders, many of them American Muslim Islamic leaders, Islamic scholars, Islamic groups, and examples of Sharia in practice. Just as a record for those at home, I am using the authoritative Hilali and Khan translation of the Quran. For those who don't say it's authentic, it's printed in Saudi Arabia, okay? Printed at the King Fahd printing complex in Medina. It's very important to understand as we start Islam's goal to conquer the world. Now, I know to those who know nothing about Islam, that may sound mad, okay? But it's not. Allah tells Muhammad, 8:39, fight the unbelievers until there is no more unbelief or fitna. That's disbelief, okay? So listen.
Islam needs to grow within the borders of the United States of America, even more important than Canada, the United States of America. Of those who are fighting for your cause, y'all know, the ones who are fighting with military warfare.
Today, we bring the favor back, turn their churches into masjids,
Their churches into mosques.
their schools into Islamic schools. Bring the light of Islam to here.
Yes, we need to market Islam. And we need to put scientific budgets on how to get the information about Islam out in the public. Once Islam is understood, Islam will be respected. And Islam will be followed.
The goal is to have a copy of this book in every home in America.
50 years from now, Muslims will become the #1 religious group compared to Christians. In 50 years, inshallah.
Why is the other side not getting killed? Why are they not being decapitated? It will come. Don't worry. In fact, Islam is on a trajectory of the most incredible growth imaginable. It will continue as promised by Allah, and it will overtake the world as promised by Allah.
Now, let's look at this Quranic verse, 2:216. Jihad, holy fighting, is ordained. It's obligatory for Muslims. That's what the Holy Book says, and here's what Muslim leaders have to say.
As we're here living in the U.S., what is our role now? Let me just quote for you an ayah of the Quran, and I'm going to try to encapsulate it. Allah is saying, do not obey the disbelievers. Don't yield to them. And then He gives us the process of what to do next. وَجَاهِدْهُمْ بِهِ جِهَادًا كَبِيرًا. And so make jihad against them.
We neglected the principle of support, which is al-jihadu fi sabilillah. And each one of us should be a soldier today. كُلُّكُمْ حَتْمًا سَيُقْتَلْ وَاللَّهِ الَّذِي لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا هُ. All of them will be killed by Muslims. They all will be executed by Muslims. كلهم سيقتلون لأنه وعد إلهي ولا بد أن يقع.
اللهم عليك باليهود والنصارى، اللهم عليك باليهود وأعوانهم فإنهم لا يعجزون. اللهم اغسلهم عددا.
Kill them one by one. Oh Allah. So he's praying in an American mosque in front of his congregation to kill all of us. Yeah?
No longer have knowledge of how the Prophet Muhammad was a warrior. And this is really a consequence of post 9/11 dawah, where the Muslims have decided they were too scared, say we don't want to speak about the fighting aspects of Islam.
And I only hope that Allah will bless me to see the day that I get to listen to the last gasping breath of them hanging from the rope that Allah gave them to hang themselves.
What is your duty as a member of the Ummah now that you are also an American? It is our physical jihad duty to fight the entire earth until we enter into the Ummah.
So you saw the Quranic verse there, jihad. It's ordained, it's obligatory for you. Fighting is mandatory for every single Muslim, whether they like it or not. Now, some may ignore these verses, but this is the teachings of Islam. And I want you to know there's different commentaries. So you have different commentators on the Quran, and they take a verse like that, and they all give their expert opinion on the translation and what it actually means. And I want you to know that all commentaries, all of them, from Abbas to Kathir to Jalilin to Qawashi, they all agree, and that's what this means. Yeah? Let's have a look at Quran 860. And make ready against them all you can of power, including steeds and people. So modern commentators will say tanks, planes, missiles, artillery, to threaten the enemy of Allah. 9:29, another Quranic verse. Fight against those who believe not in Allah. That's you lot, yeah, it's all of us. Until they pay the jizya with willing submission and feel themselves subdued. That's right. Muslims are commanded in the teachings to fight against all of us until you pay protection tax. For you who don't understand what jizya is, you can get out of this war or battle or be killed. You have to pay a special tax for protection to the Muslim community once you feel subdued. Migration, immigration. The Islamic New Year, Al-Hijjah, commemorates the journey Muhammad made from Mecca to Medina to flee persecution and to set up the first Islamic state. The word hijrah actually means migration. The Quran tells us again, 2:218, verily, those who have believed and those who have emigrated for Allah's religion. So emigrating is part of Islam's goal for Allah. In fact, the Quran tells us that those who emigrate for the cause of Islam, those who fight and die, will have all their sins wiped away, and will end up in paradise by a very impressive gain. Quite the incentive, eh? Let's listen to Mandani.
And I consider my own faith, Islam, a religion built upon a narrative of migration. The story of the Hijrah reminds us that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was a stranger too, who fled Mecca and was welcomed in Medina. Surah An-Nahl 16:42 tells us, as for those who immigrated in the cause of Allah after being persecuted, we will surely bless them with a good home in this world. Or, as the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said, Islam began as something strange and will go back to being strange. So glad tidings to the strangers.
What Mandani fails to tell everyone there is that Muhammad peacefully migrated to Medina. Then he slaughtered and exiled every person who didn't convert to Islam. Conveniently leaves that out in his lovely little presentation about his Prophet Muhammad. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is migration is a key part of Islam. Let's look what's happening in not just America, but in Europe.
From 2023 to 2024, the population of the United States increased by 3.3 million. But I just told you that there were only about 500,000 new births. What was the other 85% was from international migration.
50 million Muslims now live in Europe. At the turn of the century, that number was less than 500,000, and more are arriving every day.
The future of Islam in the West. Alhamdulillah, the future is ours. Islam's going to spread. There's no doubt to it. The West is West, East, North, South, all going to be Muslim.
عندنا 50 مليون مسلم في أوروبا. هناك علامات أخرى تدل على أن الإسلام سيظهر الله في أوروبا بدون سيف بدون بندقيات بدون 50 مليون مسلم في اوروبا بعد عشرات السنين سيحول اوروبا الى قاره مسلمه.
That was Colonel Gaddafi predicting that, in fact, saying the biggest weapon the Muslims have is the womb, and that he sees that they will take over Europe in a few decades without raising a sword. I think it looks like they're headed on that pathway. The next strategy of Islam is procreation, birth. And when they get to where they're going through their Islamic conquest and their Islamic migration, they will outbreed the indigenous population.
Data released by the CDC shows the number of children women are having has decreased for a second year in a row.
Why does Germany have this ultra-low birth rate?
Germany is really not unusual for countries in Europe unless they have an ideology, a belief, a religion that informs them that having children is the most important thing and they prioritize it. Then whether it's Japan or China or Macedonia or Britain or Germany, the fertility rate goes low.
So eventually, we are the one who will be in control of things, or we have the final say. But we need to really realize this. Why? Because simply we are a greater number and have just the way we have children just few, a few years from now, we're going to be all over.
Okay, so would you like to see Sharia law in Canada replace Canadian law?
At some point it will. Because we have families, we are making babies. You're not. Your population is going down the slum, right? And by 2060, according to Pew Research Institute, your research, by 2060, Muslims will be the biggest religious group the world over. What are you going to do then?
Well, we're going to stop that, getting to that point. That's the plan. Make not 3 but 5 children because you are the future of Europe. That's President Erdogan, a NATO ally, the leader of Turkey. What I'm saying is that's Gaddafi saying it, it's Erdogan saying it, it's not Tom Robinson saying it. These are Islamic leaders in every nation, of every organisation, telling them to come to our countries, outbreed, outpopulate. You then are the future.